Hola, ¿qué tal? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Meg James, your Move to Spain mom. This is episode Veintiocho. Happy Semana Santa, Feliz Semana Santa. It's Easter week here in Spain, and today's topic is one that I get so many messages about from my Instagram community about will my kids acclimate? Will they assimilate into a culture of being included with friends? And I'm going to share the example of this past weekend's football tournament, what football tournaments are like here in Spain, and how our 10-year-old was able to assimilate into Spanish culture this past weekend. So hopefully it gives a real life example that would make you feel better in knowing that your child would assimilate well into Spanish culture as well. So let's get into it. Okay, so for starters, it is a totally normal feeling as a parent to worry if your child will hit it off with other friends when you move abroad. You know, especially with the Spanish language difference, it's very overwhelmingly concerning when you think about leaving the comfort in the US of the neighborhood you live in, the community, the sports teams, the schools, all these things that are English speaking that your friends have developed or your children have developed friendships over the years, some of them of which may have been since they were babies, right? Some people may be thinking about how it will feel when they leave family. They might live on the same street as family. They might be changing their family's routines for holidays by moving abroad. So it's a pretty big decision. So I want to give a real life example for our 12 and 10-year-olds of specifically our 10-year-old and what it was like this past week fully assimilating into Spanish culture. Now, we are on football teams here through CF Valdebebas, which is a club football team in the community of Madrid. We actually live in Valdebebas, which is Real Madrid City, which I've mentioned, and football is life. It's king here in Spain. And our boys actually played competitive travel baseball back for their school and just for, competitively on travel teams in the US. My husband was a college baseball player. And it was hard for us to walk away from that sport because that was what interests them the most. And that was a lot of their community and what we were familiar with from a sports perspective. And we had never played football or soccer before. It was completely foreign to us. In fact, my husband, this is going to anger some of you, but he used to joke and say that soccer or football wasn't really a sport, that only baseball and American football and these other things, just joking, of course, with some of his soccer playing friends in college, wasn't really even a sport because it's just not as big. It's definitely a thing, and there are communities that are bigger football communities, but I would say in the US that unless your child has chosen soccer and you're going down that route, like my nephew, and it was very competitive for him, there are a lot of other options that people get all in on, like flag football, they play lacrosse, they may golf, they play baseball like our boys, and there are other things where in Spain, it's more like football is life. You can choose to do other activities like track. Golf is a little bit big here, but there's not American football. There's not, basketball is kind of big, but for the most part, it's football. Football is life. And so when it was time to help our boys assimilate into Spanish culture, we looked at each other and said, we have to do what the Romans do. When in Rome, do what the Romans do. And so we had the boys play soccer, football. It has been such a good experience for our kids. We've been so proud of our 12-year-old starting a new sport, imagine, at age 12 in 6th grade, playing with 6th and 7th graders who have been playing football since the womb, basically. And then for our 10-year-old this past weekend, he went to a football tournament in Asturias with his team. And I just want to share this story as a simple way of a real life example of an American family who's moved to Spain on how that assimilation has worked. So since the beginning of the season, my son, my 10-year-old, has not been able to speak a ton in Spanish to his Spanish teammates. There is one teammate, Javi, who has lived in the Netherlands and English-speaking countries that can communicate with him. But for the most part, both of his coaches and his players, his teammates, do not speak English. And so he has found little small ways to start jokes or to feel included or to pick up some Spanish while he's at these practices and games, and we've been so proud of that. Well, there was a tournament coming up that we just finished here in the beginning of April, and we were like, are you sure you want to go, Griffin? You're going to be sitting on a bus for a 5+ hour car ride. Everyone's going to be speaking Spanish. Obviously, because we're in Spain. You're going to be seated next to a kid named Alvaro in the bus that doesn't speak any English. Like, are you sure you're comfortable going? And he was so excited to go. And so we watched him with so much bravery get onto the bus this past week. We met him at Asturias. We picked him up for sleeping, but otherwise he spent the whole day at the camp with these other Spanish-speaking kids. He enjoyed himself so much, played games of football. Gosh, football tournaments in Spain are a whole new beast that I didn't know existed. It's kind of like baseball tournaments, I guess, travel baseball tournaments, but on steroids. The amount, maybe cheerleading competitions would be like the closest similarity. There were so many unique things at this football tournament. So not only did Griffin assimilate well into culture, we had an opportunity to really get an inside look into Spanish culture for football parents. A lot of the parents had drums, so they were beating on team drums to celebrate goals and things. There were moms with tutus. We saw parents in chicken costumes. I personally had a matching t-shirt. It was just so much fun. There was so much energy and electricity behind it. And so that is probably my number one tip for you if you are looking of ways to assimilate your child into Spanish culture. They have to join a team. Joining some kind of team has helped so much to break the ice with locals and to integrate and assimilate instead of just doing English-speaking things. And so our kids are at an American international school here in Madrid, so they have English-speaking friends through school. But where we've really got enriched in the Spanish culture and learned so much more about Spain in general and families in Spain has been through football. And so if your child is not a sports player, there are other avenues like chess club. You can join in Madrid, the American International Institute that has a lot of classes for local Spanish children that your children can join in to give them a better exposure. But I think at the end of the day, for our boy family, our bros, it has been so helpful to be a part of a sports team. Another way that I think could be helpful to assimilate in advance is finding those families that may have similar age children, either at your children's school or maybe in the urba that you're moving into, and just try to connect either through Facebook or Instagram, WhatsApp in advance. You know, that's one of the reasons that I run an Instagram account, because it's helped link so many people into this kind of online community that turned into real life. And it does help so much knowing someone when you come here, so that you could say, oh, you know, like Griffin, there's a child named blank in your class and he's your age and he speaks English and he also likes American football and collecting sports cards. So you'll really get along with him. So that is another tip. If possible, try to contact through these social media channels, other parents. And listen, even if they speak Spanish, they can copy and paste the message and translate it. And DeepL translator app, which I'll link here, has been my #1 best friend. I can understand and read Spanish to a high level now, but speaking is coming slower for me. And so the way I navigate that is I message back and forth with moms that are Spanish speaking in this kind of after school moms club, like PTO type thing in Spain. And I have to do so using my app, because I wouldn't be able to know what they're saying in full because it's slang Spanish or it's very long paragraphs, right? And I can't always read it all. And so that would be really helpful for your child moving here if they're elementary school aged. And then the third thing that I wanted to make sure to add is when you're looking for where to rent, I would really look to live in an urba. Now, we live in an urbanización, so an urba, it's kind of like a group of apartments together, and it's the best way for your kids, especially in the summer or the weekends, to be able to run outside, kind of like a neighborhood in the US where they would play basketball. Landon right now, our 12-year-old, is downstairs seeing if any of the kids are in the urba to play football. It's just a really good way to have a connection right away where your child will feel comfortable here in Spain. We're moving, when we move to Estepona, Spain, in Andalusia, we're moving to a casita. So we will still be in an urba, but much smaller, and we will just have, you know, the two neighbors on the side of us, not all these different people in each of the huertas that we have now. And it will be different. It will be so different. But for an entry point into Spain for us, it has been so nice to be in an urba. So the way you can do that is hopping on Idealista, making sure that the listing that you're looking at is in either a high-rise in Madrid or a grouping of apartments instead of just you on your own. And I think that really helps children assimilate as well. And so I'm just so proud of Griffin. That's why I wanted to share today's episode just about assimilating kids into Spanish culture, because this football tournament was such a lesson to me, I think. I just was so teary-eyed watching him first go on the bus, but also just the joy he had with the local kids, despite not being able to speak full paragraphs of Spanish with them, he could give them high fives. He could watch his iPad with them. They could play card games together. He could laugh. He could give them a kudgy after they got a haircut right on the back of the head. Like, he can do things, and that's how children connect. And it's such a reminder to me as an adult learning language that it's just inspiring, that it's possible, and you just need to make the effort or be willing to try. And so, such a good experience for us. If you are a family on here who is considering making the move for football to Spain, I can't recommend it enough. I think it would be really enriching to give your children that opportunity. And so if you have any questions about assimilating elementary aged kids into a move abroad, I would love to answer them below. Happy Semana Santa. Enjoy Easter week with your family and spring break. And I'll be looking forward when I get back from this rest and La Playa soon to be able to get back and help you move to Spain sooner. Looking forward to connecting on either a coaching call, or you can also get my course below. Ciao.
Hi, G.
Hi.
Okay, I was sharing on YouTube a little bit how proud Daddy and Landon and I and Nacho, the dog, are of you having gone to the football tournament in Asturias this past weekend. You've been so excited to go, and you had it. So tell me, what are you showing us?
This is the medal I won in the tournament.
Oh my gosh.
Look, it even says Ayuntamiento de...
Ayuntamiento de Llanas.
Yeah, that's why I
Muy
played.
bien. ¿Cómo se dice medal en español?
No sé.
No, yo no sé también. I want you to share just a little bit about, like, were you nervous to be with the Spanish speakers on the bus or playing, or how did you feel about doing this different experience?
I wasn't really nervous because I kind of because I mostly understood what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
But if you didn't speak Spanish, I would be nervous.
So you feel like you speak enough to be able to hang with them. Got it. All right. Thanks for sharing, and we're very proud of you, bud. You want to put your medal on? Dun, 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 dun. I don't know what sound that is.